Evening, everyone. It's great to be here this evening. It's a really warm evening in London, but that's all right. We're okay with that, right? I'm Martha Chamberlain with Mossy Ventures. We help investors and startups be more effective in the startup ecosystem. And this evening, I'm really happy to have Deborah with us. Deborah, she's an operational strategist and she does AI readiness consulting. She has over 20 years experience. She helps support senior leaders and executive teams and has worked with General Electric, KPMG, Oracle, and a lot of other amazing companies. So since 2022, Deborah has focused on helping founders and growing businesses reduce operational friction, which is a fairly major issue I know with companies I've worked with. She also helps relieve founder bottlenecks, improve, she improves decision making, helps make better decisions as a startup, creates stronger organizational foundations for scale. So her work combines operational design, workflow optimization, AI readiness, diagnostics, and change management to help businesses become more human-led and intelligently AI-assisted. So drawing from her unique perspective as a long-standing strategic right hand to leadership teams, Deborah specializes in translating complexity into clarity, helping organizations move from chaos to alignment, reactive work to intentional design, and dependency to sustainable momentum in the AI era. I'm really happy to have you with us this evening, Deborah. Go ahead
Oh,
and get started.
that was lovely, Martha, and welcome to the other guest. And welcome also to the replay listeners as well. And thank you so much, Martha, for giving me this opportunity. I'm really excited. I just go straight into the screen share, and we'll be looking at what we're going to cover and why it's important, and who am I to talk about it. So what has been advertised, what we're going to talk about is about the decisions, the decision making process, because this is the key to success and why smart founders make bad decisions and the friction points around that. So we're here to really help the startups, the people that are looking to scale as well, to understand what makes a better decision and to understand the mechanism of decision making. And why I'm doing that is because of AI that's come in with a big shift. If we don't get our understanding of the decision making process right, we can't get the AI right either. So this is kind of where I started to get really granular. So what we're going to cover, I'm going to talk about me in a minute. We're going to uncover all the pitfalls and the mechanics of decision making, like I've just said, and we're going to identify and eliminate something called decision debt. So we're going to start to understand different concepts and terminology that you might not already know. So there's going to be some kind of teaching potentially here as well, because there's all sorts of terminology and language that is now being used that wasn't ever used before. I mean, what you'll be thinking as a founder is, how can I grow my business so that it executes faster and that it grows exponentially and sustainably. Not, oh, how can I improve my decision debt? But these are the stepping stones towards getting those results. So we're going to also talk about overcoming reality drift in execution, and that might be a phrase I've coined. But yes, people know about hallucination for the AI, but there's also hallucination by the founder and the CEO. And why is that? And then creating the conditions for founders, teams, and AI to thrive together. So this is why I'm again excited to be on this platform, because we're looking at the early stage. We can really build from the ground up and create the right foundations for growth, so that you are more investable, and for businesses who want to scale as well. So to So to be agile and not be set in your way, so you're not too big at the moment to to not get this right. So yeah, it's a process, and I'm hoping to educate, to get your mind thinking in a different way. And we're going to I'm going to demonstrate how you can show your investors that you're very good at decision making, and that we're going to leave with 3 action steps that you can make, and a slide that I've made up about becoming investor ready with decision making. So yeah, I made that up. I'm talking into reality. Let's see what you all think. Okay, so a little bit more about me. I'm really enjoying these slides. It's Gamma, and it's been great because it just creates these images for me. And I go, oh yeah, that's good. I get that. Um, but I did write, I had to think about how I was going to present myself, and it's about my story really and how I got to where I am. What is it that's made me excited about getting up in the morning this morning thinking, great, I'm going to share all this with people. And it's going to start a conversation and start to engage. And of course, I've got to go first, and this has been the first step. So where I've come from, so I've had 25 years supporting CEOs and founders, mainly in the corporate space, as I said, General Electric, a lot of the blue chip companies, and then more recently, since 2022, more startups and scale ups. And because of being the right hand man, that basically what I've been is the middleman, the filter between the organization and the CEO. So I've had a lot of visibility around when the decision making process and what can go wrong, and being the eyes and the ears and using all the human side of it, the sense of judgment. So it's not just about gathering the data and information, it's making sense of it, getting rid of all the chaos, collecting all the information and then putting it together in a sensible way so that the CEO or the founder can make a better decision without overwhelm and the noise. So that's been my background. And then I got very excited only a few months ago, really. I had my phase 2 AI awakening, exploring the future of work. And so I really do believe there's been a wave in the last few months, particularly. Um, a bit of a tsunami, the speed of change. And I'm excited because my role has always been to create efficiencies and effectiveness. And I'm like, well, this is going to be amazing for the role that I've always been in, because we can systemize much better, and there's so many things productivity wise that can be done more easily. And what is that going to be for me? That means I can be a better right hand. So that's how I got into it, and then started the conversations, and I was more obsessed about the technology, but realized, well, actually, it's more about getting all the foundations in place, and the decision making process is a key part of that, and that's why I chose that particular angle. Um, now, so, and the reason again why I've started to do this work is because if we don't get it right initially, understanding the decision making, then AI can amplify the chaos and things getting wrong. So in terms of the organization, but also in terms of the person and who's making the decision. So that's what I look at. And there has been, as I have got into this conversation, in my phase 3, which I'm pretty much at now, there is a body of work around really looking at what AI is going to be doing with the human, in terms of us as humans. So obviously we've got the optimists who say yes, it's going to increase our capability, but also we need to be vigilant to not erode our innate capabilities. Let's see this opportunity and actually know what our capabilities are. Do we actually know how to fine tune our discernment? Do we know how to sense into when something feels off? So this is just an opportunity for us to make sure we don't give our agency away, but also to amplify us and augment our our outcomes with AI and work with AI. And I just felt I wanted to step in and be a bit of a steward for this. And I'm curious to see where we're going with it. And I don't believe that we can just put in technology without the human. And I think it's more than human in the loop. And so what I do stand for is a future where technology amplifies the human capability, wisdom, and authentic expression. It's not going to replace. And that's a nice little slide there about me taking people on this journey. It's not just in the systems and creating systems, but it's also using reflective practice in nature. So that's something that I'm unique about, linking everything together, providing these strategic insights, and then looking at human-centered decision making. So I just wanted to show you that pretty picture. So why decisions matter to you? We've already said that it's about better decisions, faster execution, sustainable growth, confidence. So we're going to be talking about why decision quality. Just break this down for a minute. There is what does that mean? And we talk about decision debt. We've just talked about reality drift, hidden information and context gaps, and decision fatigue. So, I mean, everyone has experienced the frustration at Starbucks when they ask you so many questions. By the end of it, you just want to order a coffee, but they've asked 20 questions about what type of coffee you want. And that is what's called decision fatigue. So we want to try and reduce that to create faster decisions, which then impacts the execution. So confidence is a big thing. If in the decisions, if there is decision lag when a decision is made in the boardroom and then 6 months later it's decided that actually we have it's still sitting there in the boardroom and nothing's actually much happened. So what is that? What's happened? It's called decision drift. And why is that? There's so many different reasons, but it's all usually behind the scenes, and it can't be measured. It needs to be human relationship led as well. So we'll be talking about that. But it's the confidence we do with the team, the confidence with investors, the confidence to get the buy-in, the customers, your talent as well. You want to be the example, and you want to be not losing the talent. So many missed opportunities without being able to make the right decisions. It's a bit of a sliding door. Do you take one decision or do you take another? So how do you assess all that? And the other reason why it matters is because then you can be AI ready. If you understand about making the better decisions, then you're much more ready to adopt all the different technologies, which are absolutely amazing. But you need to get these sort of understanding about what it is to make good decisions. And you can take a screenshot of that slide. So I've kind of covered it, but that's basically what we're looking at and why it matters to you. What matters to investors, I just put this in just briefly. So it's to start. Obviously, investors want to see that it's not you're going to be resilient and that you've got the right ecosystem to scale. So it's not just dependent on the founder. So they're looking at your capability to execute, communicate clearly, or what decisions you've made and why, and what you've learnt. And so it kind of keeps you accountable, and it just forms a better conversation and a better relationship with the investors like that. So we'll be talking about that, building those resilient foundations. So you may have experienced some of these symptoms, repeated conversations. How many times have you repeated the conversation over and over? That's a question for you for reflection. Teams waiting on you, the founder. Projects are stalling because between people and departments because of the founder bottleneck. Busy but slow progress. So important information arrives too late. Unclear AI value. AI tools are being used but values unclear. So they're not productivity tools. It's more about the visibility of decisions and decision flow problems. So that's two things to go, like concepts really, which perhaps you don't know, but it's just shared language is a good way to be able to start to have these conversations. So the 5 hidden frictions that slow every startup. So you're looking at this chaos where all this critical information is all fragmented at the beginning. Decisions become bottlenecks. Teams operate from different versions of reality. Um, Execution slows as complexity increases, and investors see risk where founders see opportunities. And So some examples I've seen. So well, my role was always to gather all the different information from all the complex departments and silos and put it all together in a more structured way. And it was quite painful to get to that information. It was hard work. Um, I dealt with a CEO who was the bottleneck. A lot of his directs were asking him too many questions. He had a lot of noise, so messages coming in from all different channels, and he just had cognitive overload. He couldn't prioritize, couldn't make any decisions because there was just it was just overwhelm. And I did work also with a leader who was through her workload, she was experiencing burnout symptoms and she didn't really realize, although I saw it. So we're also looking at state. It's not just about systems, it's about the founder and the leader and what state they're in to make these better decisions. And there's often co-founder conflict. I listen to a lot of content, and I think that's a thing that we all know about. So yeah, you need to be able to, how would you resolve your conflict if you didn't agree on a decision, because that can really slow things down. Reality drift. So again, that's many different things, but you have people work in silos so that they're just not connected to what the company goals are and the CEO's priorities. And a lot of people, it's like Chinese whispers, that things get lost, agendas change, messaging, and there's many reasons for reality drift. I had to work on a siloed project, and a lot of money was spent in a bigger company, really helping those departments work together because they didn't understand each other and they spent a lot of money to try to resolve that issue. So we don't want to be doing that. We want to get it right first time. And yeah, I mean, the more complexity that happens, the more difficult things become. And my job, my main job, my main career, 20% of my work was to resolve workflows that were stuck, to create purchase orders. There were like 20 different steps, 20 different decisions just to create one outcome. And it was a very laborious job and pretty difficult to get those workflows moving. And therefore, that you don't want to be building like that. So there's ways of doing it. And then we've talked about investor friction, and one insight I gained was, if you it's about building the relationship. So if you can be organized and really demonstrate your decision making process, and with decision logs and all information, then it shows that you're organized and that you're confident what you're doing, and it just creates a better relationship with investors and conversation. So most companies don't fail because they lack ideas. And so this is the mic drop moment. It's more about, as well as complexity, it's about visibility. So shared visibility, because once we know, then we can do something about it. So yeah, we've talked mainly about all those things: slower decisions, fragmented information, founder bottlenecks, um, and this concept about decision debt, because it's a hidden liability, and there's so many different reasons for it, but it compounds over time like a snowball. So every assumption goes unchallenged, every unclear priority, every ownership gap, every founder bottleneck and there's no decision history. All of these mount up into a debt, and we call it decision debt. That is the term. And so that just reduces the momentum, confidence, founder dependency, slow execution. And it might be a question for you to ask how many unresolved decisions exist today. How often are the same discussions repeated? Where are discussions getting stuck? So again, maybe your focus is more about, how do we increase our income, but these more the mechanisms that are part of the process are what actually drives the outcome, and therefore um, these things, these steps are there to be reviewed and measurable. You can measure decision debt. So yeah, I never went into my boss's office and said, "You should," and she said, "Well, how's the decision debt going?" But that's because there is new language, and so we need to start to learn new language. Um, it's like, well, how does that measure against the KPIs? That's what we used the conversations we had, um, but not that not that kind of conversation, but it's useful. And as I said, the old approach, we'd have loads and loads of meetings, like back to backs, get all these dashboards, tools, processes, reports, but it wasn't. Um, the idea is that we have shared visibility of decisions um, before they become disconnected. Otherwise, the teams just work by themselves, and they leaders just lose the situational awareness, and reality becomes distorted, basically. So what we want is kind of like a hive mind. Um, so not relying on somebody who has been at the company for so long, and just basically that's why they are valued, because they just know everything. We want to actually start to get context onto a system, um, on system, basically, so that everything is shared. And if you can start to do that right at the beginning, then you're building the right foundations. So this is the reality drift, and this is the thing that I get very excited about. So it is like an iceberg, what's underneath the iceberg. Um, and that's what I used to see all the time. So it's not like a new problem. It's just that it's now amplified with AI. So the new term is compression, information compression. So it used to be, and it still is, people will hide, um, bad news, they won't, that travels slower. So you want to sort of uncover things before they become problems. Teams filter information, dashboards can look healthy while problems grow underneath. So that's been always there, and it all depends on the culture, and yeah, the how teams work together. But now it's even more amplified. And the word compression, it could be that data and reports that lose sight of reality because of the compressed data. I'm not a data analyst, but there will be issues. And I'm all about shared context, and so that things aren't siloed, and that you see the full picture with any kind of data. I mean, I do know that. So that's a question. And the other thing is that AI just does compress information. And so, I have these conversations sometimes, like for 45 minutes with ChatGPT, and it says, well, the science doesn't allow and say that it's true. And I'm going, well, what about all the ancient wisdom, and what about this perspective and that? And it backtracks. So it hasn't got enough context. And it's the same with um, the organization. So if the AI hasn't got enough context, then it has reality drift. And you'll hear conversations. This is a terminology. Is what's your context window? So it is all things that I've been learning. But we've got to be speaking this language, so that if your context window becomes smaller than the complexity of the organization, you're in trouble. And there's things you can do with that, and there is software, but you need to be able to manage that and start to really know how that would work, to make those better decisions, so that things are becoming more visible, and seeing really what matters, before it becomes a problem. Otherwise, you've got unspoken risks, overconfidence in reporting, misaligned priorities, surprise problems, missed opportunities. So we're going to now talk about not the doom and gloom, but the solutions. And this webinar is also about being better together. And, we want to really highlight some examples. And so this is what I'm going to do. First of all, with a little bit of theory, and then I'll give you some examples of what I've been doing. So decision intelligence, navigating complexity with clarity. So the main point is that clarity isn't found, it's built. So that's a concept potentially that people may not realize. And it's the ability to access the right information, perspectives, expertise, relationships, signals at the right time to make the high quality decisions. And access is probably the key word there. Organizations can transform the data into actionable insights. Yes, we do that. So we can structure it and scale it and create a scalable approach, absolutely. But it's also about the individual's ability to receive and process that, the real signal, where that's where our human capacity comes in, and to really sense check things and get the true signal from that. So AI and the systems might say, well, at this point, you might not want to have these employees, but then you need to go and have a look at that in more detail. You need to look at the timing, you need to tune into that. Then there's a lot of work that needs to go behind the scenes, rather than just look at the some factual data, which is reality drift. So yes, you want the information to be accurate and relevant and timely. You want different perspectives, and viewpoints and insights. You want the broader context and shared understanding, and relationships, leverage networks and collaboration. So use talk to your wider networks and collaboration to make better decisions. So it's a bit theoretical there, but I'll go on to some examples. So we're really talking about the human intelligence and AI amplification of decision making. If you can do it right and you get all these foundations in place, on getting the decision making structure and the state of the decision makers in the right place, so that executives need to be poised and in meetings when they have to make decisions under pressure, and stoic. So the more they feel equipped with the right information and the right support and context, the better the more confident they feel, with their cognitive function and their nervous system and their intuition and all of that, to make the better decisions, and the judgment call becomes easier. So I have created 5 pillars around that. Human intelligence, communication intelligence, connectional intelligence, regenerative intelligence, and artificial intelligence. They're quite useful pillars to help form what I speak about. So what I would recommend is finding the right tools to review and reflect where you're at. So here's an example. So when we talk about the 5 frictions, which was the beginning of the webinar, there are 5 frictions here that you could use to review where you're at the moment, and just have a think about the decision quality. And if all these frictions disappeared tomorrow, how much faster, clearer, and more confident would your decisions become? And you can use, find some resources, free resources like scorecards. I've created one which has more than 10 questions for each of these, where you can score yourself. But you can see on that slide all the different things, how much effort it is to get all that information. and what dependencies, what do things depend on? You can have chains of dependencies, very easy for things to get stuck and therefore delayed, and all these different communication gaps. So you can have a think about that, and obviously the communication comes with psychological safety as well and culture. So a lot to talk about there, which I want to, which I can expand on because I've got the questions here. That can be in the Q&A if people are interested. Um, and then just find frameworks. So just to make it easier, so frameworks help with change mechanisms. So I've created a framework called the Savia framework. And Savia is a Spanish word which comes from the word sap in Spanish for the nutrition that goes in plants. So it's really about movement and flow of nutrients. So I really like that, and I chose that for that reason. So I call it decision flow. And so the S stands for surface, the unseen. Let's see what hidden assumptions are, bottlenecks, risk, and dependencies. Align, create shared understanding and meaning through communication intelligence. Visibility, make work, decisions, and priorities visible across the organization. Implement, create human-centered, very key, very want to stress that, workflows and AI support. So it's all about the implementation. But until you've got all these blocks in place, you can't amplify because AI is the amplifier and can accelerate what already works, but it can also accelerate what doesn't. And part of this decision ecosystem is called connectional intelligence, one of my pillars. And I wanted to share this because of a conversation I had recently about connections. And I'm very keen about being a connector. And what is your decision ecosystem? Because a lot of founders often don't have that network that is going to help them succeed and help them make better decisions as well. So I'm just wanted to help you reflect on who who do you know that can access the answers to really enrich your emerging decisions. And I mean, I've been doing that now for 3 months. My ecosystem is a rich ecosystem. And when I apply the framework, the Savia framework, so surface, who are we not talking to? What perspectives are we missing? Where are the blind spots? Align. Are the right people involved? Do we share a common understanding? Visibility. Can everyone see the same reality? Do we have the shared context? Implement. Build the systems, communities, network, and AI that support better decisions. And amplify. Now we can accelerate learning and execute, leveraging our connected intelligence. So it might be something that you lean into about your connections. I do naturally. So everyone has their own tendencies and traits. And if connecting with people isn't your thing, work with someone who can help you. There's also brilliant software as well that can support in whatever it is that you need to find the right connections to help you along the way. I really do believe it's who you know. So yeah, it's very powerful, the communities that you're in. Um, so here's another example of a solution, which is making your systemizing visibility and creating decision logs. And this is interesting because you can do this now with the software, and you just need to set everything up right. But what it will do is identify patterns, reveal the unseen, and get clear on decisions. So um, the level of visibility is much more highly valued by boards and investors, and you're able to talk. People. This is something you can present. People can go in with different permissions and see what is going on and why something hasn't. Why now? This is an example of something. What are the risks? What are the trade-offs? When's this going to be reviewed? So it's just nicely structured and it's dynamic. This can be a dynamic system, that's what's so interesting. But yeah, I'll go on to the next bit. You will need the human in there. So yeah, and it's an asset for the balance sheet as well, a decision log. So it adds value to your company. Um, this is the key is retrieval, and then the learnings and accountability. And yeah, so I'm really excited about decision logs, and just a great way to communicate and to build confidence and get buy-in. So this is where it all started with me. I Because of my role, I was thinking, well, how can I have all this structure and all this software, and how can I make the CEO, the founder's life easier? And we're all going on, all the chief of staff community, we're all going on about, let's create a dashboard, show them what matters, show the priorities. And that's basically the opportunity, is to get things on the system. So, for example, we've got all these softwares like Slack for communication, we've got Confluence for knowledge-based documents, Jira for project issues and progress. We have like thousands of softwares. I've got about 20 in my recommended tech stack. And then I had this, it's the idea that we create a central source of truth. So nothing goes straight into a like an LLM or something to to start to make the judgments. There has to be this central source of truth which aggregates and validates and synthesizes. But where I am coming from, and where a lot of the chief of staff community are coming from, is that you can't just have software services as software, where the founder would go, oh, I'm just going to press this button and I get a pulse check of the company. You need not just human in the loop, because human in the loop means being able to approve and just check and make and yeah, just make sure that things are accurate, and challenge, but human in reality. And that's the thing that I get very excited about. It's a concept I've just created, really, about, let's actually be real here and what's true. And that's a missing piece in the conversation. And I got ChatGPT to create a little image of what it might look like, this dashboard. And if, I am working on it. So if anyone wants to join me on this, creating this lovely dashboard, but anyone can create a dashboard and software. And obviously you've got all the governance and the permissions and what have you. But this is the sort of thing that we would be talking about with a founder right on a Monday morning anyway. It's just nicely presented. And the operator you can see is a chief of staff. So for me, I would have operators, an army of operators working with this software, with this central source of truth. So you can systemize basically, and that's part of my ecosystem with Savia, to create something like that. So if anyone's interested in talking to me about that and helping me along the way, that'd be, creating something, because software isn't my forte particularly, but the networking and the community aspect is. So this is something completely unique, and I want to bring this in, because when I talk about sensing, there is a big body of work and movement now around sense making. And yeah, I'm kind of part of that movement. I've just been swept up by this wave of realizing, okay. And the thing was that in 2018, this is what I was doing with people. I was taking people and leaders into nature, and we started to slow down and connect with our senses. And it was very interesting. It wasn't just helpful for the nervous system to restoration and cognitive function. It helped with better awareness and teamwork and creativity and intuition. And I never forget the event I did in Croatia for a group of founders and leaders in remote companies. And there's one guy that I really didn't think he was going to get it at all. I was quite nervous. But after the process that we took them through for an hour, he was like, I can't believe it. I've walked past that tree so many times, I've never seen it before. And now we've seen it. And then all through the afternoon, we went on a big excursion around the national park area, and he kept coming up to me going, I keep on seeing things that it's like everything is more vivid, and it's like, okay, so what else haven't I seen? It's just made me think about how I perceive my reality, and it's interesting. And then 3 months later, he contacted me and he said, you know, this thing we did on that retreat, I want to do it with my team on the offsite. So I just said, yeah, it's easy. Here's the instructions. This is how you do it. I'll give you a few prompts and things, and you can do it. So that was a bit of a result. And you can also do these things online through Zoom, which can be equally effective because that's what I did in 2020 when everyone had to go on Zoom. But anyway, I mean, I do these events, and it's a modality. It's a practice that can help people make better decisions, and um, the point is, it can add to us really tapping into our innate wisdom and senses and perception. And this is the last one. Another solution I got very excited about. This is technology, which I found recently at the Tech Week. And it's a company called Dust, and they have multi-agents working together, but it's across context. So this is more for scale-ups where there is so much context, that it's about really sharing that collective context to understand the reality so that things aren't fragmented and the agents and the people can work together. It's really quite fascinating, and I hope you like my slide because the AI asked me, did you want to animate it? And yeah, it looks good, doesn't it? Uh, okay, so three actions that you can take away today. Um, so yeah, you can create a decision log. So you can capture your key decisions, assumptions, owners, review the dates, and start to keep that log because then you're going to understand the patterns and what are the learnings. And that helps you with your own reflection and also the team reflection, and then you can articulate that to your stakeholders. And just be better at what you do and better outcomes. And then map your bottlenecks, identify where work waits, where decisions slow down, where founders work, um, where the bottlenecks are, and yeah, just really just making sure that you've got all those bottlenecks sorted. And then run a visibility audit. What is it that what do you know and what don't you know? What are you assuming? So that's really interesting. And small improvements, you just got to remember, make on visibility, create disproportionate gains. And I've put in this slide, which is an investor ready slide, and I'm basically talking this into reality. This is my idea. Um, whether it's can be created to have a shared conversation, it might be too soon because of the shared understanding of these kind of things. But decision intelligence framework. So before you were a reactive decision maker, and now you've got a framework. So what could you put there in terms of your AI native scaling readiness? And then all of those things, what is your shared context and what's your distributed ownership like in terms of decision making? Anyway, that's to have a look at, and I'm happy to discuss that so that we all really create better decisions with better futures. This is what I'm really passionate about for the younger generation to really thrive in to be able to really amplify themselves and to be the best version of themselves, but to work alongside these technologies. And so we need to start to build these foundations for the next generation. And yeah, who we become today, it's not just about what we build in terms of all the systems, but it's who we become. We need to start to be mindful, and we can absolutely create what we can become, and it's for us to have these conversations. Okay, so there we are, questions and answers. Here is a way that you can connect with me on LinkedIn. I have got a newsletter on this subject, in decision intelligence. So you can follow me on my journey. Tomorrow I'm going to write one about connectional intelligence. This is me in nature. You can see that AI picture, but just so you remember me like that. But yes, you can do the scan of the QR code and that's it. I will stop the screen share. Not sure if you recorded, Martha.
Yes, yes, I am.
Oh,
Questions? Any
thank you very
questions?
much. Yeah.
Rebecca?
Any question,
So,
it doesn't matter how silly it is or anything, but Martha, you're probably the best. I'm really
so
interested.
yeah, so let's say that we have, and I know you put some things down, but perhaps you can talk a bit more. So let's say that we have a CEO. One of the things that stood out for me was that has troubles making timely decisions.
Yeah,
How do you go about managing that or working
yeah.
with
So
that?
that's right. So we'd have to dissect it all, and first of all, we could ask them to reflect. So I've got a scorecard around that, and then to audit. So the different timely decisions are so many things. So just to go into a bit more detail, so if they're relying on people, it's the chaos, the visibility and the clarity. So our team, how clear do they understand all their priorities and um, what does the success look like and is there alignment? So it's the alignment piece. Because if you're dependent on things, then and you haven't got that communication going, then that is one thing. And then it's the dependencies, what things. So the dependency, what does it rely on, and you can plot all those. So and then look at where things get stuck, and then again with the delay. So again, you asked me, why things get delayed. Well, um, it's yeah, how quickly a decisions, when does decision really need to be made as well? Because sometimes you want to delay that decision, and there are reasons for it, and it could be cyclical. So that's my regenerative pillar. Is you wouldn't want to make a decision to launch something potentially in winter. So the two really active times are spring and autumn, whereas the rest times are summer and winter. And so that's a regenerative way of working, where you're going with the natural cycles. So some things it's actually quite good if there are delays. It's just a question of being able to understand, the reasons. Um, and then just simple things like you have a meeting, but are the meetings recorded, and are the action points then going into a project management system, or are they communicated properly, that kind of thing. And then effort, people, it's too much effort to get all the information and to make too much overwhelm with the decisions. So so we have basically decision drift and decision reality. Those are the two things. Um, and all everything comes below that. And then also about the connectional intelligence. You haven't got the right network with it around to really help you make the right decision. So, it could be confidence, the confidence to make those decisions. And so it's about who are you becoming, but it's also about your support and structure and how you've built. So it's the clarity comes from building. Um, yeah.
Okay. All right. Any other questions?
Hello, everyone.
Maria?
Yes, uh, I want to say that the presentation and the content, I think it's really valuable and absolutely it makes sense. I was working supporting the CEOs and the founders in some startups, and I absolutely agree with the topics that I heard now, and it absolutely makes sense. And I just wanted to ask now question about which um, which topic for the decision making do you think that is the most confusing or difficult for the founders? In which area do you see they have maybe a common issues making a decisions? Either is this about the product or the service, so technological part, or maybe about the employees, the structure, and everything related to this part, the foundings. Just in general, if you have maybe a common point where you see that there are most of them they struggle with.
I mean, it's about mastery, and if you're going to do something, you do it properly. So you find out, you learn from platforms like this, and you get the support from the communities, and you find people to support you, because you can't know everything, and I think that's probably it. Maybe you don't know what you don't know, and you're thinking that you do, until you don't. So it's always about how to make the boat go faster, kind of thing, and mastery. It's not like, um, that there are particular issues. I mean, the two things are build your proper structure and your foundations, but also, it is very much about the person and letting go potentially of quite a lot of identity. Um, because what you're doing is wanting to, um, and also let go of control. That's a really difficult, that's a big one as well. So understanding, not just letting go, but making sure that your team are trained to understand about trade-offs and risk. And, when you see that shared context, how they can use systems to help the company as a kind of hive mind, so that the founder actually feels confident enough to be able to delegate some of the decisions to be more distributed. So yeah, I would say, it's usually the founder being the bottleneck in some way, either not building the systems or just to help empower the people.
Yes, I agree with that. It takes a lot of values and integrity to manage the team, and absolutely to have the clear, basically regulations also, and keep the values high. Absolutely, to make the organization, basically to keep it together, because employees, or even external internal partners, they quickly can sense and make complexity when it comes to sharing the values and basically applying them, to really apply this to everyone and not make exceptions. And yes, this is also one good point. Absolutely.
Yeah, I love it. Yeah, values is like key. You first have to define your values and make sure the systems know what the values are. That's like the first step. Yeah. Thanks.
Yes, absolutely. Because sometimes founders, I mean, they come from the technical part, so maybe they have different skills that, or maybe lack of some skills that they need to be like for managing the people in general. They have other hard skills that are also needed, but yeah, the combination of everything, sometimes it takes time. Before it gets really integrated. Yes, absolutely.
I mean, I would actually say the first hire, your best hire is a chief of staff or operator. As your
Yeah,
first,
that's a good one.
the
Yes,
best one,
yes,
first step before you do anything, because they can take so much off you. It's unbelievable. And it just adds
yes.
diversity. Yeah.
Yeah, maybe now we are losing this sense a little bit because of the AI, and sometimes I hear this thinking that anyway the people will not be needed anymore, so maybe they lose a little bit of this responsibility of the employees and putting more effort to the AI. But I think it's still important part of it, as you mentioned already.
Yeah,
That
yeah.
the
It's very important part of the conversation, because there's so many AI pilots that are failing, and we just need to be able, there's so much budget that needs to go on training.
Yes.
And very keen on that.
Absolutely. Yes, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions?
Yeah, I
Well, it
mean,
is.
people, the replay viewers, they just want to reach out on LinkedIn as well. But yeah, I'm very happy to just carry the conversation on. And yeah, just thank you so much for spending an hour with me today and letting me share my thoughts.
Yes.
Um,
Thank you very
uh,
much for your time, Deborah, and interesting ideas. All right. Thank you.
thanks for having me. She's here.
I did put her LinkedIn in the chat,
Yeah,
and I think it showed on your screen as well. So yeah, feel free to reach out to Deborah. Great.
and
All
thank you,
right.
Martha. I really, really appreciate it. It's been fantastic. Honestly,
Yeah,
you've got no idea.
sure.
We'll
Great.
carry on the conversation anyway.
Right. Great. All right. Have a good evening.
Okie dokie. And you, everyone. Have a good one. Thank
Thank you.
you.
Good
Bye.
night.
Thank you. Bye bye.
Bye.